Alright. It's time for the GSL semi-finals. We've got herO in the bottom right side of the map, rogue in the top left side. It is, of course, a very important match because herO comes in as the GSL champion from last season. We are having two very quick back-to-back GSL seasons this year, as they are working also as qualifiers for the World Championship. And rogue, he doesn't have a spot. I mean, herO got one of the first spots through with that GSL spot. But rogue, he needs to do well here. I don't think he's in the closed qualifier. I don't think he's made it into the closed qualifier. You guys tell me if I'm wrong on that. So I believe he has to get to the finals of this tournament, most likely, to win. Because on the other side, we've got Classic Gumiho. And essentially, Classic and herO both already have spots locked in for that World Championship. Rogue and Gumiho do not. So if Rogue and Gumiho both lose in this round, they'll have to do some sort of tie-breaking match to decide who gets that spot. Likewise, on the other hand, if one of them gets through, the other doesn't, to that finals, that'd be obviously the player who gets to the finals, gets through. Ideally, we see Classic gets beaten by Gumiho. No offense, Classic. Rogue beats herO. We get Rogue and Gumiho playing a finals for everything, right? Not just the GSL spot, like the GSL finals, but also the spot in the World Championship. That would be really cool. But it is a stretch to say the least because herO is a massive favorite against Rogue. But Rogue, he goes for a hatchery at home and then goes for a forward hatchery. herO sees it pretty early and does immediately pull probes, and he just goes for the one gate response. Cybercore in the wall. He's going to chrono a zealot as well. And just 5 probes, pretty minimal, but you can see he doesn't have 400 minerals to build a Nexus with. So this is just right. This is exactly what you want to do. Now, Rogue's hatchery, gas, and pool. At home, you can tell the gas and pool here are very delayed. His hatchery is going to finish, and his pool's still going to be 20 seconds away or so. So the queens are going to be late, as are the lings. There is the chance of chronoing Adepts across and causing a bit of a response. And we'll see how this goes. herO, you can time this out really well. Actually cancelled a probe there to get the money. And gets that Nexus down immediately. Maybe didn't need to cancel the probe, actually, in hindsight. And he does take the gas to stop Rogue from disrupting the build order. Rogue going to try and do a bit of Protoss-style mineral harass. So far, bouncing a worker off the patch. Nicely done. And it looks like Rogue here really just wants to mess up the flow of herO's build. He doesn't want to deal with a perfectly streamlined build order. And that makes sense because herO, when he's doing a streamlined build order, is so nasty to play against. Now, does this Adept rally backwards to kill the drone? No, it does not. It's just going to rally forwards. So 2 Zealots and an Adept pressuring. Bunch of Lings being built. Ling speed, as well as those 2 Queens almost out here. And this is, of course, just being built to buy a little bit of time. herO pausing on his probe production right here just for a second. And the Zealots are going to walk in. Stargate is on the way behind it. herO, you don't want to lose these units. You just want to force Rogue to build a lot of Zerglings. If you can get a drone or 2, that's excellent. And already getting some damage. Starting to pick off a few of these units. The Zealot's actually doing really nicely. Wow. He might be willing to even trade the Zealots. I think the Zealots should run away now, because they are useful units later on, but he's hoping he can get the queen, and he actually gets it. Rogue not pulling that queen away, a little sloppy. And this one, nice drone surround. That could have been so much worse. If he doesn't get the drone surround, that Adept could have circled and done so much damage. But as it is, 3 drones, 6 slings, a queen. I think that's a fantastic trade there for a herO who's got another Adept still on the front. Just needs to be careful to leave everything else at home, because Ling speed is going to be kicking in any moment now. This is incredibly risky still being out here with this Adept. Sees only a few Zerglings, a whole bunch running across the map. herO does have a Void Ray coming out next. He's going to go for the Overlord and use that as a nice little bit of safety insurance. herO tries to poke forward with the Adept, but these Lings on the other side could always come back and deny this Adept. He also could use these Zerglings, could Rogue, to slap down any attempt at a 3rd base. His own 3rd hatchery's on the way. Unit count very even, and I think that's a good choice. Shut down the map vision of Protoss, get rid of that Adept. Void Ray's coming out, but he's going to go across the map, look for an Overlord or 2, and then come home and get this Overlord that has no chance of escaping. 3rd gas does go down for herO. 2nd gateway on the way. No Twilight Council just yet. Of course, 3rd base usually the bigger priority here. The activity of the Ling's doing pretty well, and Rogue, he should be able to catch up on workers, but a little supply blocked right now. Trying to build more Overlords, more Queens. Void Ray will easily get that kill. But I don't know if he can find any of these other Overlords as he starts to roam around looking for them. 3rd Nexus goes down for herO. The 8-worker advantage is starting to look rather worrying. I think Rogue maybe could have done a better job of droning up out of this. I mean, it does seem like he was a bit more supply blocked than he should have been. So Overlord's going to scout through and see what's happening. Oh, the Void Ray hunting. Look at that. He's going to find a 2nd Overlord and then head home for the 3rd one. That's a pretty valuable Void Ray. Don't get me wrong, it's not the high impact damage of strafing through a worker line and clearing them, but Rogue is in a really bad spot in this game, guys. He's just not caught up on his workers. It's past 5 minutes. He's still not got drones on his third. Just now has he got workers popping out. And don't get me wrong, I do think herO came out of the early game a little ahead, but I do think Rogue has missed some opportunities just on his own macro in the follow-up. I think herO's macro has been a little smoother. Nice clean up on a queen as well. That's another free kill going down. Really well done. Only takes a little bit of damage. Void Ray is on 2 kills. He hasn't actually caught the Overlord yet. That Overlord's off to the right side. It did survive, but it looks like herO's forgotten about it. His Stalker was not able to confirm the kill. Extra gas does go down, so it's 4 gas, charge, and +1. Charge +1, Archon Storm. Very good against +1 melee Zerglings, because the Zealots are going to 2-shot those Zerglings rather than 3-shot them, which is such a massive breakpoint. Apologies, guys, for the camera being on there. That was a complete mistake there. I had no idea how we were on that scene. We must have misclicked something. But, yeah, sorry about that, as we do try to, for these procasts, not have the camera on the screen. You can block a bit of important information. We will be back, of course, to my my better computer soon. My computer, my A computer has been suffering right now. Getting a new SSD and Windows installed today. Couple queens going down. Nice catch, but oh, herO doesn't pull back the weak Oracle there. Still think it's worth, though. He's doing amazing damage. Lair, very late, which means you don't have to be worried about any early Hydra timing. There's going to be a +1 Zealot Void Ray pressure. herO sitting on 59 probes. He's kind of pausing. He's not really rushing Storm or anything like that. But as long as he just uses the Oracles with energy recharge, should be able to deflect this. Turns on that Oracle. Does deflect for now. But with no battery up, he'll need to leave these Oracles at home. Maulings ready on the natural. And actually, surprisingly, herO leaving units on hold position in his wall. Not something you see every day. Oracle turns on its laser beam, though. Zealot Void Ray coming in. And only Zerglings and Queens to defend. These Zealots are a problem right now. The Zerg player Rogue is in huge trouble. These Zealots catching him off guard. Queens down there, getting isolated. The Zerglings on the ramp, not getting the surface area. Maulings will come in. I think Rogue can barely defend this. Maybe. But oh my gosh. I mean, it's a terrible trade for him. More Zealots rallying across the map right now. It's a 6-gate Zealot rally. herO's not really transitioning into anything other than Blink behind it. I love the way herO hides these Zealot timings, though. He's so good at surprising people with them. I do always feel like he could have Templar Archives behind it. He's got a ton of gas banking, no Templar. But it doesn't matter. Rogue just was not quick enough at macroing up after that early counter damage. And it felt like, I don't think the idea was bad for Rogue. I think the execution was not smooth enough. You can see here, don't get me wrong, I think already not pulling that queen back from the Zealot was sloppy. He should have been able to save this queen, number one. I think after this, there was just a bit of a supply block. So let's see, how did this supply block situation happen? Because it's not like the Void Ray forced this to happen by killing this Overlord. Remember, he goes for the greedy, I want more Overlord kills, goes across the map. But for some reason, yeah, Rogue was just hitting a supply block on 44 with 6 Lava Idol, which isn't the end of the world. But then I guess the Void Ray gets an Overlord. He wants to rush the melee upgrade, but he doesn't have, I think, the work account to afford this just yet. I actually think this might even be too early to be putting back on gas for Rogue in this game, because he's taking damage from the Void Ray. He's already built a bunch of extra Zerglings, which failed to deny the third base. It just feels like he needs to lean into his minerals a little bit longer to recover from this early game, and he takes a bit too long to do it with things like this idle lava count hanging out for a while. It was always going to be a tough recovery. I do think herO handled the early game so smoothly by just defending with 1 gate and a small probe pool. But yeah, I think Rogue here just had an idle lava maybe for a little bit too long. Hard to say. Like I know I am nitpicking here, but it doesn't feel like he should have been that far behind from the opening. Who knows? Maybe herO's response is just too perfect. All right, going into game 2, herO with a nice smooth game 1, blocking the hatchery block build. He's going to go for the pylon in the wall off on a map where it's really easy to wall off without putting your pylon in the wall, because his name's herO and that's how he does things. He's going to go for that early probe across the map. Unfortunately for him, Rogue knows how to do a tight build order. Gets that 15 hatchery down after Overlord. And I got to say, a little sloppy for herO to think he could get the block off with this timing on this map. Rogue updating his build orders, no longer going for those 13 Overlord builds into 16 hatch. And actually getting the base on the natural. Really good adjustment by Rogue. And it's these sort of details that will make the difference as a player. Now, if he didn't see a probe coming in, he would have built 1 more drone. Still would have gone 16 hatchery. So the whole point here is this is such a minimal adjustment for Rogue and yet it kind of blocks the main purpose of this early worker. Now, don't get me wrong, worker can still harass and be annoying, as we see. I actually made a lot of fun of Rogue for a few months ago. I saw him just literally chase the probe with a drone the entire time it ran circles around the mineral line. It was one of the sloppiest worker harassment defenses I'd ever seen. It was incredibly lazy, but I think he's gotten a lot better at it. You can see he's actually pulling the worker back to minerals a little bit quicker, so he's not taking as much damage anymore. Pylons on the outside of the wall, guys. This is a little bit like putting your artillery in front of your machine guns, your Dothraki in front of your fortress against the Knight of the Dead. It's illogical. It's like digging a trench behind your army so you can't retreat. Essentially, when it comes to just classic military tactics, pylon in front of the wall, not great. But what's cool about the way herO does this is it sucks at the start, but then he ends up building like a second wall. If he builds some gateways here, you kind of end up with a wall here and a backup wall behind it. So herO, especially with the oracles getting refilled on energy and dominating the skies in the early game, I think it's perfectly fine. I think there were previous metas where oracles actually ran out of energy a lot more. It was much more vulnerable to all sorts of all-ins. These sort of things were objectively really, really bad. But in this particular game, it's totally fine. Dothraki, what is that reference from? You guys remember the big battle at the end of Game of Thrones? They're like, we need to charge our cavalry in so they can get insta-transformed into zombies because we want to give cavalry to the zombies rather than use fortifications to defend. I'm like, these Dothraki, I'm pretty sure they can fight off horseback. I'm pretty sure you can get them to dismount. They know how to use curved swords. They know how to fight good. Like, you know, it'll be totally fine. The dark episode where nobody could see anything? Well, yeah, you could change your TV settings to the same ones they had set up in their preview testing room, and it looked great, apparently. Apparently no one had the same color dynamic range as they did in that one. Oh, probe does go down there. Hey, that's super worth. That's super worth for Rogue. Always happy to trade 2 Zerglings for a probe. 2 Adepts will go forward. Really good droning for Rogue. No supply block on 44 this time. Obviously, he got the natural up. He's got 2 mineral lines full. He's putting back on gas now. This is a clean opening. And he's skipping spores entirely, which is kind of greedy, but Oracle's only just leaving the base. This queen, not sure if it's going to be ready in time. He's building 1 spore crawler in the main. Bunch of lings coming in. Only 4 so far. Rogue's really towing the line of greed. He does need to build some overlords. Wow. Shading into 3 queens and 4 zerglings is a decision that herO just made. That is a wild choice. Now, those adepts are pretty much forfeit. Spore crawler's done. Oracle flies in, doesn't find anything. Adepts can get jumped on. Dude, sloppy start for herO there. Choosing to commit into that Rogue. Remember, Rogue was towing the line of greed already, and he gets away with a perfect defense, doesn't lose anything except the lava. This is excellent for Rogue this start. 2 overlords are on the way. I'd like to see maybe even build even more, but if he can saturate this third before 5 minutes, he's looking fantastic. How many queens? And only 5 queens and 1 spore crawler. He did build a second spore as well. So 3 queens can defend the third. The spores can defend the main and the natural. He's got to defend his rally, though. This is what herO is really good at, coming in on these rally points and trying to catch you. Adepts guarding that third base. Great positioning. 2 adepts there as well. Really good positioning for herO. I love the way he ventures out to kind of push Rogue away from his wall off. Oracle's going to go in kind of deep here. And sees the queen in the spore. Backs away for now. Third Oracle joining in. Forge and Twilight coming down. This is not the really fast blink that we see Zaun do all the time. And he's going 4 gateways. Oh, he's just going to play charge again. All right, but guess what? Lair's already almost finished. +1's on the way. Roach Warren's there. If he just masses roaches off like 65 drones against this, I think Rogue has a good enough start. He can make that look incredibly good. But his lings on the wrong side of the map. Then again, that's only a handful of lings. There is a probe in the wall off right now trying to stop the run-bys. This is something that herO's really needed to add to his playstyle for a long time. Started doing it occasionally, which is really cool. Lings doing okay against these adepts. For the adepts, happy to take this trade, I think, especially with the 2 extra drones on the disengage. Oh, does lose a probe or 2 on the third base. Just 1, I think. This is a very interesting game because Rogue's frozen up his work account now, and you might think, well, it's not that big of an advantage for Rogue anymore. And it really isn't, with no 4th base on the way. But he may have a deadly roach timing coming across this map. Ling defense is really good. Adepts are going to focus down a few more drones. Of course, this is tacking onto the drone damage that was done earlier. Oh, that mineral line choke, really nice. 9 drones in total. And that's the only drones that have gone down in this entire game. Overlord speed does click on. As I said, yeah, I don't think Rogue is gearing up for a long game. If he was playing a macro game, the lack of a fourth would be a problem. The lack of 6 gases would be a problem. But herO sees no fourth base, and he should realize what's happening. He's on 5 gate himself, but no blink. Oh, no blink. Charge is really bad against a big mass of queens and roaches. How do you possibly defend this as herO? He has no robo. He has no storm. All he can defend with is zealots and cannons and oracles. Oh me, oh my. All right, herO knows he's got to intercept the rally point, find what damage he can. If he can pick off a queen here before the push gets started, that'd be excellent. But he can't be fighting spore crawlers. herO not watching right now. His door was wide open. Of course it was. Nothing else was happening at all, and yet he lets the army in, loses 2 oracles. herO with a big mess up. He's already in a hard position. Defending this with Master Zealot is so awkward because you're melee units against range units. When you're defending with melee, it's about overwhelming your opponent. You know when it's hard to overwhelm your opponent? When they're maximizing and optimizing for a big all-in push. Then again, he goes for a good surround on these roaches, but the queens are going to drop down. They're going to do some nice transfuses. The roach is not stutter stepping at all. The roach is also not balled up. This is kind of a sloppy engagement for Rogue. But does herO have the numbers? It looks like the answer is no. The +1 roaches are starting to break through. Then again, the rally is so much slower for Zerg than it is for Protoss. The queens constantly picking up and dropping is so damn nice. 61 probes for herO, but it's just 8 gates of zealots. You need blink stalkers to be able to micro backwards behind cannons and batteries and all that sort of stuff. And going zealots 2 games in a row, incredibly greedy, and gets him massively punished. The first game, it was great, and it worked out really well against Rogue trying to play pure Ling Hydra, but the roach timing has always been one of the better counters to this, and with how good Rogue's opening was, he will have the numbers. Essentially, the way this works, guys, if you play Zealots, you need to do an overwhelming fight. If you can't overwhelm the first battle, you are dead. Don't get me wrong, if you've gone Immortal Archon with a little bit of Zealot support, that's a different thing. This is not that build. There was no Robo. This was triple Oracle into just +1 Zealots. This is a build order that is lacking that core anti-armored ranged damage units. It's lacking units that you can micro back behind your static to get efficiency. So Rogue's attack timing perfectly picked to stop herO being so greedy. All right, guys, herO's in the bottom right side of the map and Rogue's in the top right. And we are going to be seeing the old extractor trick. Meanwhile, this time, herO says, I will block your base no matter what. Sending one of his very first workers across. Has to send a second one down to build the pylon. Now, interestingly, he's leaving the opening on the north side of the wall. Normally, you leave it on the inside of the wall if you take this third base over here so that you can rally out without being as exposed on the outside of your base where the army's coming in from. A lot of Protoss players also mine out here and take this third instead, which it appears he's probably not doing with this placement, I would imagine. What is this gateway placement? But then you can't squeeze it. herO, do you think about your walls at all before you place them? He's got an opening there. I don't think he can... Can he even wall off here? I think maybe... Okay, I think maybe the Cybercore can reach the wall off just barely. I feel like there might be an opening on that side, though. I don't know. Oh! Oh, hello! Look at this, guys. Rogue's mined the minerals out. herO has not checked for that. He doesn't know. So we have a proxy hatchery. He's going to mine this open and Ling Flood. All right, so having a pylon in the wall is really not going to be good against this. But also, he needs to realize right now what's going on. Oh, dude, what? He's not checking for the third base. Oh, dude, is herO just going to... herO, you got to go check for where the hatchery is. He literally just assumes Rogue's built this third hatchery, but he's not going to check for it. Oh my gosh. He's going to build a spine crawler as well with this, potentially. Maybe? He should be mining these minerals already, but maybe he wants to wait for the last second, doesn't want to show it too early. herO, he's building a Nexus. He's not paying it. I mean, you can build a Nexus and still defend this, arguably, but you really are meant to one base against this, since this is essentially a one base Zerg player. Is he going to go check over here? Yeah, so he's clicked up there. Okay, go to herO's camera. Let's watch this. Let's watch him real time. Let's go. He sees no hatchery, and he's like, oh, what? If he can get a Stargate and a battery in his main, an Oracle can do insane work to defend this, but there will be queens building on the front, which is a huge problem. herO still hasn't checked the minerals. He's checking gold base. You gotta check the minerals. You have a backdoor, herO. By the way, there is an opening on both sides of his wall, as I talked about, guys. He's got 2 holes in his wall. Holy... herO, he doesn't even realize his door's been breached. herO caught with his pants down entirely. The door is open. There's 2 drones and 2 Lings inside his main base. Ling flood incoming. herO, no time to react. He's got to pull the probes and surround this. He's already lost 2 probes almost instantly. He goes for a bit of a surround there. Does get rid of some of those units. Beautiful pylon block, but he's already got a Stalker out. He needs Adepts. He's going to build a sentry as well and try to force field his way out of this. This is crazy right now. The pylon will go down. Drones and Lings and Queens getting inside. Sentry's not going to get there in time. Stalker and Sentry need to get back. He's trying to build more sentries, but he needs damage dealers. He needs Adepts. He's trying to defend with non-stop force field. He does stop him getting inside the ramp with more than 2 units. There's still another opening in the wall because herO's wall-offs are absolute torture. This is ridiculous right now. Oh my gosh, herO. He's going to lose that sentry almost. Okay, the sentry does get to safety. Nice force field, but 2 Lings on the outside manage to take it down anyway. The Lings coming in. Ling speed's not even done. More Queens are coming. This Queen's on top. He's going after the shield batteries as well. These units taking massive amounts of damage. The Stalker and the Sentry are going to get to the healing of the battery. Is it enough though? Not with all these Lings around. Not with Ling speed here. herO. Unnecessary greed, and he's caught with his pants down. Rogue with a lovely and brilliant all-in. I can't believe herO didn't prepare for this option and didn't seem to realize that not scouting against Rogue here in a semi-finals of the GSL is going to cost him the Stalker dice. The probes surround, the Lings just stand there and take it, and that is going to be a very quick game 3. Wow, herO so greedy trying to play Mass Zealot Oracle in game 2. Game 3 just does not scout. Like, he scouts, but he assumes it's a normal opening and you've just gone to take a third. Doesn't double check it, and even when he does, how long was it before he realized? Because at some point, what is this, like 2:30? He sees no third, right? Oh, it's even earlier than that. Sorry, it's like a minute 30 or something? What time is it when he goes over there? It's pretty late. It's so late. His door's already getting mined open by the time he sees it. The drone starts going. But even then, if he immediately went over and started walling, he could have walled off, right? He could have defended this. Obviously, having 2 openings in your main base wall, as I pointed out, terrible placement. It just made no sense to put his gateway here, guys. So let me just talk through, because this is really simple stuff. And I know people go, oh, Pig, you can't make fun of herO. He's better than you. I'm not making fun of him. I'm pointing out obvious basic flaws he refuses to fix as a player because he's incredibly lazy sometimes. I love herO as a player. He's fun. He's dynamic. He's crazy. This is like 101 of walling off. Is you want to put the building in the difficult position first. So if you do go to this pylon, you're meant to place the gateway up against the edge first, in which case it would actually, I believe, have fit here. I'm not sure, but I think it would have. And then you fill the cybercore in behind it to close the gap. And then you've got a single space opening. But he didn't even try to do that. He was just like, nah, I'm just going to throw a gateway in the middle. This is a very bad pylon placement. It's a very bad wall off in general. And it's really sloppy. Combined with him not realizing the door was coming open, it's a big mistake. We got to be critical of herO here. I think against Rogue, he's an overwhelming favorite, and he should be hedging his bets. But as we know, herO has never hedged a bet in his entire life. He always doubles it or nothing. Everything all in on black, go, go, go. That's all he ever does. GG's. Well, oh my gosh, this series is going so much quicker than expected. But actually, should I really be surprised? herO is very aggressive, very dynamic, but also very inconsistent. And Rogue is famous for doing crazy all-ins historically. And, I mean, we shouldn't really be surprised. He hasn't been doing much of this lately, but it's big semifinals. Of course, he's prepared big strategies. And he brings out a lovely all-in there. I would have loved to see how herO would attempt to defend that if he'd scouted it, right? If he wasn't just so late to the point where he literally doesn't see it till 2 Lings and 2 drones are in his main, killing workers. Like, that was a disastrous response to him. He does actually build the pylon behind the wall off for once, so a bit of a safer wall off here. Meanwhile, Rogue is going to go 16 hatchery, very standard opening for Rogue, and gets his expansion up. So you can see herO here kind of playing conservative now. He's going for a gate scout and seeing exactly what can go on. Is the stream muted? I don't think so. You guys let me know. There's only one person who can't hear me. That's crazy. There's a guy in chat who thinks I'm muted, but there's always a guy in the chat who thinks you're muted when you are commentating. There's always one guy on Twitch who's like, oh, but he's just kicked his headphones out or something like that. Turns out it is, yep, everyone can hear. It's just the one guy. All good. Let them know. Okie dokie, we're going to go for a bit of probe harass. Nexus goes down. And I mean, just calm things down. As herO, you don't really need to do anything crazy against Rogue. Like, Rogue does not have Serral's late game. He will peter out in the long game. And I think just a bit of, Adept Oracle pressure into Blink, into Storm. We've seen herO do, or even just do an 8-gate Blink aggression is actually a really good build. I think you've shown some dynamic and some crazy openings as herO, but also you're down 1 to 2. Just go back to the standard stuff. Oracles into Blink is such a solid style, and even if there's a Hydra Rush or something like that, I don't think that beats you. It's just a better build for Rogue to get set up in the mid game, so I don't think herO needs to worry too much about that. On the other hand, for Rogue, you got a free win there, right? You got a nice build order win. This map is ley lines. It's a map where these middle bases are incredibly hard to defend from Tempest later on. You don't want to play late game in general against herO. He's just got a big advantage head-to-head there. Many would say Protoss does in general compared to Zerg. It definitely feels that way, except when Serral's playing. And we'd have to see what your goals are. I don't want to see a Roach Hydra timing. That's like the one thing. I honestly wouldn't mind another one of those big Queen drop Roach Ravager Ling busts. I think those are just always really hard to stop. And with herO maybe a little bit thrown off after the last few games, I think you could totally get him with that again. It's one of the more solid builds out there. Stargate about to finish in the main base for herO. Adept coming forwards. He's going to shade it. Shade me, baby, one more time. The Lings are well positioned. He's not going to be able to get in there. Oracle gets immediately chrono boosted. Second Adept stayed at home in case Lings tried to run in. So it looks like herO is trying to hedge a little bit more, which normally we don't see herO hedge. You know, we don't see him take insurance. herO is the kind of guy who buys himself a new $1 million car, gets like a really fancy Lamborghini or something, and then doesn't get insurance for it because he's like, no, I'm a pretty good driver. It'll be fine. That's herO's style, but he seems to be making necessary adjustments here, right? And we even saw units on hold position in the wall in game 1 at the perfect time, actually. So, like, just the last 2 games, he's been a bit too risky, right? All right, Rogue doesn't have a lot of Lings here. Actually, could have committed to the shade, but the other Lings will be popping out. It's always like, I feel like Rogue is doing a really good job of being just slightly greedy every game, but oh my gosh. Slow Queen response. Luckily for him, very slow Oracle micro, though. herO, I think, could have got a bit of damage there. He was distracted by these Lings that came in and got a pylon kill. Oh, they actually cleared the pylon. That's why both sides were distracted. And as I was saying, Rogue's done a really good job of, like, as the Adepts come in, he doesn't have enough Lings, but then, like, 3 seconds after the Shade could have finished, all the Lings pop out and he's fine. So, like, he's basically right on the cusp of leaving big openings, but that's kind of what you want to do. Because as long as there aren't those big openings, you are pretty good with the Queens, the Spores, the Lings on time, in position. 2 Lings do go down to the Oracle. Then that's going to set you up really nicely. Now, we've got 5 Adept, 3 Oracles out. Twilight's going to go down 4.5 minutes, as well as a Forge. This looks like a pretty standard setup. 40 probes only. And Oracle not able to get the Stasis Trap. Accidentally starts it in range of the Spore. Door is wide open. That insurance I was talking about. herO said, nope, screw that. I'm going to just go YOLO here. That Adept will go down, but at least it tanks a bit so the probes can do some damage. The Oracles are there to defend as well. His own Adepts will get some damage on the other side. Stuff's about to hit the fan right now. Looks like the Lings did get cleaned up. 3 probes went down for 4 drones. I think that's a perfectly okay trade for herO. It's not the end of the world, but it is just unnecessarily messy, especially with these probes not going back to mining. And Rogue's doing a really good job of dancing with his opponent. Baneling Nest is on the way as well. No lair just yet. He could do a Ling Bane counter if these Adepts throw themselves away, which they're going to. Not even focus firing drones right now. 0 micro from herO there. Very sloppy play for herO. And Rogue, it feels like is starting to stabilize. He goes back to drones now. Like I said, he could do a big Ling Bane attack. He's going to drop a 4th hatchery. 3rd Oracle's up here, but the Queens are ready for it. And so far, no real ground being made by herO. He's trying to be aggressive, but he's overcommitting to everything. And Rogue now setting up a counter in the south, still building more Zerglings. This is the old Dark timing. +1 melee, mass Ling Bane, no Bane speed. You just roll Ling Bane in here. If you can smash some Banes in from this side and bust the wall open at the same time, it requires a Protoss player to be very quick to respond to that in time. Really, really quick. And right now, there's only 2 gateways at 6 minutes? What the heck, herO? Where's your gateways, mate? Okay, finally a 3rd and 4th gateway go down 6 minutes. This is very late to be going to 4 gates, guys. herO's macro might be a little bit off. I understand he built a few more Adepts than normal and traded them poorly. But this is crazy greedy. He builds a cannon, a battery, and another gateway at the front. I think he realizes, hey, it's a little dangerous. Oracle's going across the map does leave him open. And look at that. Banes are morphing. Those 14 Banes. This is the old Dark attack. Dark had many success with this attack over many years. Fake gas. Fake gas. There's a gas missing in the main. Does that tell him anything, though? It's not uncommon to skip that one gas in the main. Oh my gosh, the Queen's going to push these Oracles away. Oracles aren't really going to do anything. And here comes the Mass Link Bane attack. These probes are in trouble. He's got to mineral off these probes right now to get them out of there. And that's a quick response. If he can just send the Oracles home, he might be able to defend. But he's got to keep that third base alive. Any units he can warp into the choke points to buy time would be good. But the Lings with +1 melee tearing him down. He's got nothing in the wall. He's going to try and hold position probes. But he didn't hold position. He didn't hold position the probes. Oh no, the Banelings. You gotta click on those Banelings. One Baneling goes down. The next one looks like it will eventually go down, but the third base falling at the same time. And Rogue here. Wow, Rogue just doing some really nice aggression. It's an old school build, but herO just not having smooth early games. Rogue finding the open wall off repeatedly. I mean, this is one of those things, we're going to look back on this day, and we're going to say, do you guys remember when the best Protoss player in the world never had his door closed ever? And continually let people run into his base? Because it's led to so many defeats. Last year when he lost to Solar in the GSL, he let 7 Zergling floods into his base in a single game on altitude. 7. Was it last year or the year before? It was like a year and a half ago. 7 Zergling floods in one game got inside his main and natural on altitude. And still herO almost won that game. But this is just herO to a T. It is inconsistency, it is chaos, and it is when you play a well-planned opponent who's just on point like Rogue is right now and hides his intention, he can smash you. Remember, Dark used to always have a good ability to catch herO off guard once in a while and trick him. Rogue, it feels like, has taken a leaf out of Dark's book. The proxy hatch to disrupt at the start, the proxy hatch to mine out the back door, the hidden Link Bane bust. He's just saying, I'm willing to gamble, I'm willing to take some chances, and he happens to have found the mark very well with all these choices. herO is completely dead in this game. If his Oracles were at home, if he had a few more gateway units, maybe. But sending all 3 Oracles across the map while those Link Bane, they were hiding, they were waiting for that moment. Rogue knew, you're not just going to sit in your corner, you're herO. You are allergic to sitting in your corner. He knew if he hit his army and just showed a few Zerglings running around the front and nothing else, that herO was going to send the Oracles out to see what was happening. And that was the trigger Rogue was waiting on to send this in. What a dominating semi-finals. And what a shock this has been. herO getting dumpstered in the quarterfinals at Dallas, and now getting dumpstered in GSL Season 2 again. Player who's been so far ahead of the competition for the last 6 months of play, and he's starting to flail a little bit. Very nice game for Rogue, though. Gets his spot in the grand finals.